all this information going around that, water therapy, wake up in the morning, take 4 glasses of water, in the evening, take 4 glasses of water. That I personally would not recommend, because if you take too much water, it's also going to interfere with your food intake. So you're not going to be able to take food. Yes, the water therapy is used as a weight management program, but it is actually not sustainable. Water, because it's used for excretion and transportation and circulation, all those things are going on in your body every single second. So you should not take water now and then avoid it the whole day and take it later. Try to distribute your water intake the whole day. And train yourself to take water. Yes, there are people who don't take water. So if you don't take water, don't wake up the next day and start taking 8 glasses of water. Train yourself to take some water. If you take 2 glasses a day, go to 4 glasses. Take 4 glasses until you're comfortable. Then you can increase to 6 glasses. As long as you have 6 glasses, that's not too bad, because you're also having other fluids. But don't take too much coffee and say you had enough water. Don't take too much tea and say you had enough water. It is not the same. Don't go with fashion. Don't do what everybody's doing because it's what's going on. Like right now, people are taking so many multivitamins. 1 out of every 3 women we've interviewed is taking a multivitamin, either calcium or a magnesium or something. Why are you taking the vitamins? Because they can actually end up being toxic. For example, you find that somebody's taking, like maybe up to 4 or 5 tablets a day. They're taking calcium and magnesium. They're taking a vitamin A. They're taking something for their hair, they're taking something for their skin, and that becomes, in 3-4 months, it means they're taking something like this. This definitely is going to become toxic. So don't just take vitamins because everybody's taking vitamins. Don't remove carbs from your diet because everybody's doing that. You need to have a reason. If it's recommended by a doctor, no problem, or by a dietitian, no problem. But I actually don't know any condition that requires you to avoid carbohydrates, for example, or if you take too much fruit. Everything needs to be in moderation. We cannot talk about nutrition without talking about exercise. Exercise is so important. It has to be part and parcel. It's not only people who need to lose weight that need to exercise, or people who are preparing for sporting activities. No, everybody needs to exercise. Exercise has to be planned and implemented. And it means it's an activity that requires you to use your major muscles, let's say arms and legs, requires motion for a prolonged period of time. So we are talking about jogging, running, moving, and of course not sleeping. So exercise is very important because it improves blood circulation, improves oxygen and your lung capacity. When you exercise regularly, you also prevent different conditions. Exercise can be prescribed with everything. If you came to me, you're not sleeping well, I will say you exercise. If you wanted to gain weight, I will say exercise. You have constipation, part of it will be for exercise. The reason why Jehovah created day and night is because you work during the day and you sleep at night, so that when you wake up the next day, you're as good as new, you're refreshed. So resting is very important. If we sleep late most of the time, you're always going to be tired, and definitely we are going to develop some conditions related to fatigue. And it doesn't matter, you can eat healthy, but if you're not having enough rest, we are not going to actually make a very big difference in our health. So all these things have to be done hand in hand. We have to eat healthy, exercise regularly, and have enough rest for us to say you're practicing some good habits. We hope that you have been able to identify some of the mistakes that you make, if at all, so that you can make changes. But before we go on to tell you about the solutions to these mistakes that we make, we want to discuss the consequences of poor nutrition. I'm sure you know some, but what are the ones that actually can really cost you a lot of problems? Let's start by just fatigue, just getting extremely tired. You always, in the evening, you're tired. In the morning, you're tired. You do not even want to get out of bed. If you had a choice, you'd just sleep and not go anywhere. It's because of the way you eat. If you don't eat breakfast, you're always going to be very tired in the evening. If you eat too much in the evening, you're always going to be tired in the morning. Dehydration causes fatigue, and especially for those people who always sit in an air-conditioned room with lighting the whole day, you're likely to get those problems. Some headaches are also because of dehydration or poor nutrition intake. Like if you don't take breakfast, most of the time you'll get a headache. Especially people who suffer from migraines, they will definitely get headaches at the end of the day. And if you're always tired, definitely you also end up getting a headache or discomfort in your head. Before you take a painkiller, please analyze why you're having the headache and treat the problem. Taking medication sometimes is just treating the complication, but you haven't actually solved the problem. So let us treat the problem so that we can avoid taking so many medications that we actually may not need. Hyperacidity is a problem of eating either too much food in one sitting or taking too much fat in your diet or just staying very long hours without food. And it's always going to become a problem. And of course, too much acid always can cause now other problems like ulcers and so many other things. So please check. Another problem of not eating healthy is constipation. I know a lot of people who do not go to the toilet for long call for days and they don't think it's a problem. In fact, when you tell people you need to go to the toilet twice a day, they think, oh, you mean that happens? Ideally, you need to go to the toilet twice a day for a long call. You need to go to the toilet for 1 minute and it's out. Not if you go there and you have to sit there for very long and you have to push out, then we have a problem. If you go to the toilet, you can know your digestive health by just the type of stool that you form. There are like 7 types of stool that is shown in this chart. There's type 1, there's type 2, there's type 3, type 4, type 5, type 6, and type 7. The first type is very little stools. Traditionally, people call them like goat stools. That is not good because it means that you're not emptying everything actually. Type 2, the stool is formed, but that's very, very hard and can actually cause a tear. Type 3 also is very hard and can cause a tear, but type 2 is probably worse. Type 4 would be the best. And if you eat healthy, eat 3 meals a day, have enough fruits and vegetables, and drink enough water, you will form your stool easily. You will go to the toilet every day. Please note that if you don't go to the toilet for 3 days, that is chronic constipation. And if you don't even go, if it is even longer, it's even more dangerous. Constipation is very dangerous and can cause headaches, can cause body odor, even foul. You can get foul breath by having constipation. You can get a kidney problem. Some people actually get depression because of that. And the consequences of constipation is countless. Yes, it is one thing that usually is ignored, but please check. Your children don't eat enough fruits. If they're not forming a good stool, like we have said, number 4, then we have a problem. If you as an adult is not going to the toilet for a long call and is going after one every other day, that is a problem. So you need to manage your diet so that you can be able to form stool, because those are toxins that must be excreted every day. Your digestive system is the most important organ in your body. Of course, all the other organs are important, but this is where all the digestion takes place, absorption of nutrients and excretion. If your digestive system is not functioning efficiently, we have a major problem. Let's just look at the digestive system. Your digestive system is 6.5 meters. If you can see the length, it is attached to all your organs. This digestive system feeds the body, in short. So it needs to be taken care of very well. Some of the problems you'll have by having poor digestive health is hyperacidity, gas, and constipation. Can you imagine that most of these conditions like diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure can come because of eating poorly? So there is no two way about it. You eat badly, you get these problems. You don't eat properly, you cannot manage these problems. But there's one thing that everybody likes to do, and maybe I also did it before I learned so much about nutrition. We all get our own solutions. Let's just say you're taking maybe just 5 tablets a day, because one of them you're treating headaches twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. You're taking a laxative, you're taking an antacid drug, and something else. Those 5 tablets a day is going to become 150 tablets in a month. In 4 months, you're taking about 600 tablets, and that is about this much. Don't you think it is cheaper for you to eat healthy and prevent all these conditions rather than taking medications? Taking drugs without eating properly is like washing your hands and drying them in the dirt. What we need to do to live long and prevent all these conditions, we should be free of toxins. What are these toxins that we consume every day? We take a lot of salt in our diet, we take a lot of sugar in our diet, we take a lot of fat in our diet. So we need to reduce the amount of salt we take. If you're the kind of person who takes their food and adds their salt before we take it, you need to stop that. That is very dangerous and can actually lead to high blood pressure. Salt can cause high blood pressure. You need to reduce the fat in your diet. If you take chips, a lot of fried foods, sausages, baked foods with a lot of fat, we need to reduce consumption of those foods. We have to be realistic. You can take those things occasionally, but not all the time. Sugar, if you take like soft drinks every day, you need to reduce that. Some studies have shown that if you take a fizzy drink every day, you actually have a very high risk of getting diabetes. So let's reduce the sugar, the salt, the fat, and last but not least, we can reduce the amount of medications we take. Rehydration. Take enough water. Make sure every day you take between 6 to 8 glasses, depending on also your recommendations if you already have a medical condition. Distribute this water the whole day and let it be quality water. Yes, you can take your juices, you can take your tea, you can take your coffee, but let's learn to take quality water. And the amount of water does not change with the weather conditions. Whether it is hot or cold, you still lose the same amount of water. So you still need to take water. The third thing we have to do is we have to eat healthy. What is eating healthy? We have discussed that, but it involves a few things. It involves the timing of meals. When should you eat your large portion? When should you eat your small portion? You need to eat more food when you're going to work or school, and that is in the morning. You need to eat less food in the evening so that you can be well rested in the morning when you get up. Eating healthy also involves eating a variety of foods. Don't just eat the same thing every day. Please keep a food and activity diary and write down everything you eat for a whole week and analyze that. Find out how many types of vegetables do you eat, how many types of fruits do you eat, how many types of starches do you eat. If you find that you're eating the same thing day in, day out, then you need to change. We had discussed earlier how your plate should look. Your plate should have half vegetables, a quarter starch, and a quarter protein. And we also know that there are some people who may need more starch than the others. So yes, you can do this for now, but you also may need to get nutrition advice so that you're not also eating too much or you're eating too little for your body type and for your body weight. So don't just heap your plate with starch and then a little protein and forget the vegetables. Always put your vegetables first. That way, even for people who want to lose weight, it makes weight loss very, very easy. Eating healthy also involves the way you cook your food. We cook our foods differently, and most of the time we have to add spices, salt, and fat in our food. Well, spices is not bad. Salt could be bad if you add a lot of salt. So you need to make sure you add very little salt in your food because you can't train yourself to take less salt in your diet. But most of the time we also make the mistake of using a lot of fat in our food. Let me show you something. This is how much fat we get from half a kilo of lean steak. This is home experiment. We took lean steak, boiled it in a lot of water. When it was cooked, let it cool, remove the fat that had collected at the top, and we put it in a glass. And you can see that's quite a bit of fat there. But if this is lean steak, how about regular meat? We also did that to chicken. And you can see this is how much fat we got from half chicken without skin. So animal protein already have fat, so we don't need to add any fat to it. The fat is used to, of course, enhance flavor. In vegetables, yes, we need fat because your green vegetables have got your fat-soluble vitamins. So in your proteins, don't add fat. Just add the spices. It will still be tasty. In your vegetables, especially green vegetables, you need to add some oil because of fat-soluble vitamins. So most of the time, people steam the vegetables and fry the meat. You should fry the vegetables and steam the meat. We have natural foods that like you get from your garden and you eat, like your potatoes. We have processed foods that go through manufacturing and that reduces the nutrients. Most of the time, yes, we have the ones that reduce the nutrients of food and we have the ones that improve the nutrients of food. And then we also have heavily processed foods that uses a lot of preservatives to increase the shelf life. So we need to eat less processed foods and eat more natural foods. You're better off taking your maize and taking it to the posho mill, or you're better off eating the corn before it goes through the processes of making it into flour. you're better off taking your sweet potatoes instead of taking your white bread. So you need to eat wholemeal instead of processed food. Your brown rice is better than your white rice. Remember, we talked about having enough fiber also improves your bowel movement. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Those meant a lot of things. That meant that if you eat fruits regularly, you will keep away from the doctor. So more fruits in your diet. You should eat between 3 to 5 fruits a day. And always the best time to eat the fruit is at snack times and not with a meal. It's not a dangerous practice to eat with a meal, but the best time would be to eat it alone when it is not competing with other nutrients. Then that way you utilize it better. In addition to eating healthy, we also have to exercise. What is exercise? Exercise involves an activity that is planned and implemented. We have to use our major muscles like walking, jogging, running, and it should last long, maybe continuous for 45 minutes to 1 hour. If you can't make time for exercise, be ready to make time for illness, by Edward Stanley, Earl of Derby, 1873. So exercise is important. I don't think you want to make time for illness later. So let's be active. One way I keep my fitness going through the year is I actually train for marathons. I train for walks. Like, you know, in Kenya, there are so many walks. We have a diabetes walk, we have a Ditol Heart Run, we have the Standard Chartered Marathon, we have the marathon in the park, you know, the Lewa Marathon. So there are so many. We have the cancer walk, we have the HIV walk. So if you always train for the walk and maybe improve, you tell yourself, I'm going to do 10 kilometers, I will do it at a shorter time this time, then at least that keeps you going through the year. Because you shouldn't exercise for 1 month and then sit for 6 months or 8 months. Exercise needs to be a daily activity. But I also say don't exercise every day and don't go and exercise really, really hard. You get tired and you can't continue. Exercise, if you're trying to just maintain good health, 3 days a week is fine, or 3 to 5 days a week is okay. So remember, if you don't want to make time for illness, please plan to get some time to do exercise. Last but not least, we must have enough rest. At the end of a long day, full of activity, let's say school or work, or think of what goes on during the day, you must be able to sleep and wake up refreshed. And the best way of doing that is make a habit of not eating a lot of food in the evening. Eat small portion